I never know. I never know. I never know when these things are going to come about, but something came about, and I'm hoping I can get to it before it evades me. There was this locomotion of mind running through my mind 30 seconds ago. Now I have to get back there. I was thinking about hereditary sin. I was listening to audiobook by Soren Kierkegaard, Anxiety. On Anxiety or something. Something about anxiety is the title of the book by Soren Kierkegaard. In that book he was talking about hereditary sin, and it dawned on me. It dawned on me that hereditary sin and cross-generational transmission of trauma are the same thing. And like hereditary sin as in original sin, as being born a sinner, is like such... It's such a terrible idea as I've understood it my entire life until a couple days ago, when it just made sense. It's the cross-generational transmission of trauma, which makes complete sense, you know. And I know that I remember when I was in college, I saw this woman speak. I can't remember her name or anything about her biography. I just kind of ended up at this lecture that was happening. I'm assuming some classes required it, mine didn't. I don't know, I saw a flyer or whatever, and I was like, huh, I probably skipped class to go see it. And she was a tall, very beautiful, short-haired black woman, very educated, very outside of my normal type of person that I interacted with, and I remember being fascinated by her pretty much in every way as an individual, intellectually, physically, frankly. That's one of the things I hope we can come to as a nation, is amazement and curiosity as a type. This is one thing no one ever talks about, and it is so important. I mean, its importance could not be overemphasized. Curiosity. Innocent curiosity in otherness. Because all othering is denounced. All othering, like in the academic sense, is denounced as wrong. But that is absolutely untrue. Othering is a moot point. Othering is neutral. A curiosity indifference is one of the key components lacking that can go too far. But that's not the discussion for this moment. To be taken aback by otherness is natural and perfectly fine. to be startled, embarrassed, ashamed, and then defensive is the problem. That's the racism we hate. But to see something that is different than us but the same, this is going to sound crazy or bad, but please realize that for once I'm speaking from my heart, right? To see someone else's hair or skin that is different than ours. People from different cultures have different smells because of all kinds of reasons. But to be intrigued and curious about that. What is this differentness that I see amongst this sameness? I wonder what that says about what we are, and I wonder what that says about what that person, they, and different theys are, and I wonder what that says about me. That's a beautiful curiosity. It's intuitive, it's rational, it's empathetic. Sympathy is derided in many circles. But sympathy is discounted. There is a virtuous sympathy. Sameness. Sameness. Similar. And one of the things that will absolutely have to happen is this curiosity of difference. I mean, that's in one sense, that's, well, you know, what I liked about pre-Tea Party libertarianism was exclusively Ron Paul. And what I exclusively liked about Ron Paul was he gave a speech one time on tolerance. And the importance of tolerance. And it was almost an exact, like, English to English translation of what I had heard many years back, live and in person, Cornel West say about tolerance. I remember Cornel West had said, I'm less interested in... I was at Keene State. He came with KRS-One. I'd never heard of KRS-One. Please forgive me. Yeah, I have to understand the distribution networks that informed me, right? No, none of my friends ever gave me a cassette tape. No one ever gave me a tape or a CD of KRS-One. It was never on the radio. There was no reason for me to immerse myself at that time in hip-hop because it barely touched my life at all. And I remember when this speech happened, I'd heard of Cornel West. I had several friends who were very into him. I'd read a little bit of Cornel West. But obviously, I mean, he's such a magnetic figure, and whatever that thing is about him, I guess I don't need to describe it, but I remember when I heard he was speaking, I'm like, I'm there. I don't care what's going on. I'm there, you know? But everybody I knew, or just the hype around the campus was, KRS-One's coming. And I was like, I don't know who that is. And people came from all over, from like universities from Massachusetts. Like there was like this huge influx of like people who weren't from Keene State College, who to my mind stuck out because I'd never seen them before. And, I was just like, what's going on? I don't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't get how big KRS-One was in that draw, and I didn't get how his relationship with Cornel West was such a huge draw. But for me, it was, Cornel West. Anyway, he said, and I remember in one of there's a couple things I remember, but I'll only speak about one now, is that he said, I'm less interested in because a student from another school had asked, how do we inject diversity into this place, into that place, into every place? How do we inject diversity? And Cornel West said, I'm less interested in diversity than I am in tolerance. And that has stuck to me like that was a missing puzzle piece in my life then. And it has stuck through me now for 20 years. And that's what I liked about Ron Paul. And that's what I liked. There was a podcast the other day of, I forget what it's called. It's that dude, that kind of Republican-ish dude from The Hill Rising. And another dude I'd never even seen before. And Eric Weinstein. And toward the end of the podcast, and it was just posted a few days ago, Saga? The other dude, I can't remember his name. I'm sure I'll become familiarized. I wish I remembered the name of the podcast, so maybe I'll annotate it later. But yeah, Eric Weinstein, toward the end of the podcast, they were asking about justice, and Eric Weinstein said, that he believes that it's our job, like when someone needs to be kicked to the curb, to kick him to the curb, but then to offer him a hand up also. And that the whole idea of justice takes on this, like, this connotation of vengeance, justice. Because people are always talking about, like, justice. I've been trying to get into the Quran, and quite frankly, I mostly listen to audio books. I read, but it's usually when I'm just looking something up. So at most, I typically read like 3 or 4 pages of something. I might read 50 pages in a day, but those 50 pages might come from 60 different sources. That's just me. Thank God I was born in a time where I have that ability. I do need to be better for longer content and have more patience, but I don't know how I'd ever get through Euclid's Elements, but I feel like I have to, But having that said, that type of strategy to an extent discounts intuition. Or it can. But anyway, so I've been trying for years to get into the Quran, and I've downloaded or looked at several audiobooks, and I kind of gave up because I found the way that the words were spoken with such fear, like not even fierce, like, but just such tragic, loathsome, And whenever it talked about justice, the way the person said it, it was as if hatred instead of love were coming from the voice. And the other day I found a book that was a little less like online on a YouTube video audiobook instead of like on Audible or on the web or whatever. I found one that was a little less I don't know the right word, like instigating, the oral rhetoric, the inflection points of speech were smoother. But even in that, I found justice was just a little bit too justicey. Justice. But justice is like balance. The scales of justice. Justice. Balance. 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 And I've been working on this for quite a while. And I am very imbalanced. There is no way, as funny as I look sometimes, or all the time, there's no way that the picture of me could adequately express the physical discomfort and imbalance that I feel on a daily basis. It is epidemic. I couldn't express that. I am out of balance. But I seek it with all my heart. It's a start. It's not enough. Got to do it. But a balance is a delicate thing. And so I'm building this because I want it to balance. I have my vacuum cleaner, and I'm going to put a hose up from the back end of the vacuum cleaner, and it blows out all which way. It's not just this smooth, perfect thing. It blows out all which way. And the contraption I set up that I showed in my other video, like if you feel it, you feel all these little different air pressures. It's not quite right. And I was thinking about it over the last couple days, like this project that I'm doing, it's inexact, it's this, that, whatever. But it's like something I want to see. And what it really is it's seeking balance. That's it. Balance. And if you watch the video that I made, I think I posted it the day after Christmas. And it was like the day before Christmas, Christmas, and the day after Christmas that I made this video. And it's this struggle. The struggle of finding balance. And that's justice. That's why I like Andrew Yang. Because he's redefining, I mean, I've never heard him say it this way, but his policies speak explicitly to it, that he's looking for like a political balance within society. Justice, true justice, from the heart and the mind, where they meet. Justice isn't what we've thought about it, and punishment is not justice. And that's why forgiveness is so huge. And tolerance is so huge. That's why the Pauline gospel is so important. So crucial. It's a justice where everyone's forgiven and helped up. No other, I'm sorry. Like, I hate to say it because I know how compassionate all religious people of the world are. I know that. I know people, I know that everybody cares. I know that. But as far as a doctrine goes, the most inclusive, forgiving, compassionate doctrines are the answer. Eternal hellfire. There's no such thing as eternal hellfire. There's temporal hellfire. And it may be very, very long. It's more rationally logical to say that those who are truly lost disappear in eternity. They don't suffer hellfire. Eventually. Even in eternity. Eternity is a little misunderstood as well. But even in eternity, it's not that individuals, not as souls. Soul is the first case of individual. It's not that souls disappear, but they get wiped clean. That's not what we want, because that's an uninformed eternity, and that's why even eternity can have different sizes. It's infinitely saturated eternity, but the size of its infinities can be larger or smaller. The smallest infinity can be the number 2. 2 souls occupying the same space equal an infinity. Which is a stacked point made of 2 points. That's an infinity. Because they occupy the same thing, yet because there are 2, they are not the same thing. Thus, even though they're a point, those points possess, even as singularities, singularities can possess distributions. Anyway. "23 minutes in, still haven't said what I was going to say. What was I going to say? Yeah, hereditary sin, cross-generational transmission of trauma, how the Truth and Reconciliation Committees of South Africa were so important. And throughout Africa, according to this woman 20 years ago, I don't study that a lot because I don't understand it much, but I want to understand it much more, But there's a lot of things right in my vicinity I don't understand. And in my own life and so on, in my own culture that I'm trying to understand, and I hope you'll forgive me for what I don't understand, but I hope you'll embrace the type of tolerance that I reach toward, the type of love that I reach toward, and acceptance of individuals and groups of individuals. But it's also very important to recognize there are individuals and groups of individuals who are wrong. They're wrong. Right? Cannibal cultures, cannibal marauders, rapers and pillagers are wrong. And they're not to be... The curiosity we extend toward those cultures and individuals and peoples is not the same type of curiosity that we would extend to others. So that has to be considered as well. But we also have to understand that no culture or society is a what's it called? I can't remember, but not all the people are the same. And there are many who go along with things out of just basically great fear. And even they have to kind of be forgiven. It's just like in, just following orders isn't an excuse, right? But we all are, to greater or lesser degrees. I am. How do you do it? You go raving mad, yelling in the street, what's going to happen? You're going to piss a bunch of people off, going to end up in jail. Not that ending up in jail, not that that should be a deterrent from doing the right thing, but there's more people in jail who are ineffective than like effective, just political prisoners. So anyway, just back to that justice thing too, speaking, like I was thinking, like could I, as someone who doesn't know anything, just as a personal practice, like could I make an audiobook of the Quran where every time I say justice, I fully embrace the concept in my heart of balance? And like the whole concept of justice as reestablishing balance within others and within myself, like true balance, compassion, love, energy, vitality, but an energy and vitality, a quickness of mind, but also a stillness. How would that affect the translation? There's a couple things I came to quite quickly that I disagree with. But I think also the grammar is so thick, and again, I don't know anything about Islam, but I know there are certain translations of the text and so on. And I'm not saying there was a Council of Nicaea type thing for the Quran, but how things were interpreted, where the commas and quotations belong, the jots and tittles. Jots and tittles weren't just changed in the Bible, and it was. But the good folk always made sure that the codes they placed were more compassionate, more just. Not more just. More just. Just. And that's the revelation we're at, that a lot of people who are, it's important that so many people are interested in the apocalypse and the revelation. But a lot of people don't realize that apocalypse and revelation, it's very simple. It's very, very simple. We could, as a planet, solve 50%, 51% of the spiritual problem of the earth tomorrow. It would be a little messy, but not that messy. And within 2 years, we could turn this whole ship around. And all it requires is this tolerant, just, acquiescence to the revelation. It's not the end of the world, it's the end of the world as we know it. And if we don't listen to the revelation, not the revelation, but the revelation, like, let's sit down and simply understand this truth. I haven't said it yet in this video, and there's no one who's saying it. No one that I know of. I'm the only person I know of that's saying it. Not that it's not said, and not that it's not known. I don't know why others who know don't say it, but I know others know. I gotta think for a sec. Got 31 minutes in. And I more or less glossed over the preface to what I wanted to say. Now do I get to what I wanted to say otherwise? Yeah, I guess so, because it's about justice, balance, the revelation, in as much as I can understand it. Which is very much less than my heroes. But I have to admit, even to myself, is a better solution. I mean, not a better solution. A better expressed answer. And it's, I don't say I have an answer to 100% of the revelation, but I have a definitive answer to 51% of it, and that's pretty good. And over time, I hope to develop that, because I have this massive obstacle that is called me to get past. I can't make all these things in my mind come out smoothly yet, and I have a lot of work to do to get there, and still things to learn, historically, empirically, rationally, physically, theurgically, and so on, in a unified manner, though it may be an incommensurate unity, which is a unity incommensurability, perfect incommensurability as a concept defies duality. It's a unity of difference that is not differences of opposites. So I'm just going to chill here for a sec. Maybe I can get to what I wanted to get to in like 20 minutes. Smoking's real bad. The more I think about it, but I'm just being honest, you know. small drink with some water. It's the best I can do right now. It's helped. I'm not where I want to be for sure, but I want to fix this desperately. But if I spend what time I have left, it's a gamble. It's not quite a gamble, but a little bit of one. If I spend what time I have left just worrying about and fixing this, and like I said, the discomfort that I feel it's pretty hard. But if this all goes away and I'm able to find a way to get out the message, if the message gets out, I don't care what happens. I mean, I do, don't get me wrong. And when I say this, I mean the body and the spirit, as the soul is the way in which the particular type of spirit unites the soul to the body and so on. I would prefer my soul not to be wiped clean. But the most important thing is the message. And if the message, I mean, if I fail, the message may still get out right. It's presumptuous to think that I'm the messenger. But I'm a messenger. Like it or not, it sounds presumptuous. Trust me, I don't like it. There's a billion other things I'd rather be doing, in one sense. But in another sense, this is the thing to do. So. I think I just put too much importance. I put too much importance on this video by saying like that. I'm not talking about this video as the message. This video isn't the message. But it informs the message. If only to me. Sounding board. Echo chambers are derided. But echo chambers, if constructed in a certain way, where the right voice or voices are compelled, something very, 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 very beautiful can happen. So, here's to the beautiful echo chamber and the whisper walls through time. Okay, how about this? Maybe I'll tell you what I was going to talk about that I'm not going to talk about right now, but it will force me to tackle it at another time. The chi-rho. Rho, as it refers to density in physics, mass, volume, how that refers to sacraments, how that refers to rituals and sacrifices, how that refers to meat, M-E-A-T, flesh, how that refers to the whole concept of just rho, just the letter rho, which looks like a P. it also looks like an or. But just how that letter, and as it relates to the chi-rho, how it relates to the tetrahedron, the octahedron. There's a couple different chi-rho symbols. Some have the kind of collapsed X with the line and the P, or the rho. Others have, I guess I did that backwards, but others have the Coptic cross, the plus and the X with the circle. Both often have the alpha and the omega. It depends where you put those alpha and the omega that tells you if the author of that pictogram knew the code, the specific like geometrical code. Because you see chi-rhos, there's a billion different symbols of it. But there are ways to understand if the person who made the thing understood it at the geometric level. And if they were that mathematical and linguistic to understand it at that level, it's likely they were understanding it at a deeper spiritual level in the right way. But what it has to do with meat and flesh sacrifices. What it has to do with MEET, as in meeting in geometry, the meets of lines. And what it has to do with vegetables, which in a sense has to do with vegetables aren't meat in this coded sense. They are in other senses, in other coded senses, but not in this one. Which would have to do with incommensurability, but a perfect incommensurability that's still a pattern. For instance, like a pine cone, because we're always talking about like Fibonacci sequences in nature and so on, and a pine cone, and the way you have a couple Fibonacci numbers twirling around each other kind of in opposite directions creates this, pine cone, pineapple shape. And in that sense, it's a way kind of understanding incommensurability in so much as the lines that create the spirals are the vacuities where nothing is. There's nothing there. And in a sense, that's a little bit like incommensurability in so much as the lines we're concerned with are empty. It's not quite right to think of it that way, but that's a way to kind of get into it a little bit. Like you have these shapes, these bizarre, peculiar shapes filling out a form, yet you have this spiraling intersection of linearities where nothing is. And that's the whole interesting fact of the matter. The interesting fact of the matter of pine cones is where nothing is. The lines created aren't there. And that's very, very interesting. And it comes back to the idea of sacraments and communion and rituals. And why, I wanted to peel away from it. And I'm sorry to bring it up, but like in the Quran where it says, all is, there's only one, there is no Trinity. My quick read of the Quran is that it's Judaism Part 2. It's anti-messianic, post-Christian Judaism. And more I'm just pulled, whether or not there's a historical Jesus, that story came from somewhere, and wherever that story came from, whether it was an author, whether it was an oral traditionalist, whether it was Dread Pirate Aesop, wherever that story came from was messianic. At the Last Supper, there was no meat on the table. It was fermented fruit and fermented grain. So if people lump the three religions together, never mind what others did, never mind, Constantine, all the bull worship, sacrificing in Rome. I'll say it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it 1,000 times. And I'm an unlikely messenger myself. I can't believe it myself. Someone much better than me should be saying this shit. But the people who are better than me, they got other shit to deal with. They're not saying it for this reason or that reason. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe some people haven't figured it out. And I will expand on this. Rho, density, mass, gravity, density, weight, how that all relates spiritually, psychologically, and the specialness. Now, I don't go to services. I don't. Not that I shouldn't or whatever, but and mostly when I hear people talk, church talk, and talk about Jesus, I fucking hate the shit. I fucking hate it. I can't stand 99% of it. But the 1% of it, or the 1% of the 1% of it, gets it. And not just that, but and for that matter, as far as Islam goes, I'm not throwing Sufis in the same boat, And I'm also discounting the true heartfelt beauty that's there of the people and the good things, But so far as the words are concerned, I just heard this term the other day, and it applies. What Muhammad is writing about Allah and about Jesus, and that if taken at face value, and like I said, we don't necessarily know where the commas and quotation marks are, and it changes everything, because the book's a run-on sentence. It's like Schopenhauer times Schopenhauer. So, but that read of there is, stop, there is no Trinity, there's only one, in a sense I get that. And we also must remember that Jesus prayed. Who'd Jesus pray to if Jesus is God, right? And wept and said, God, why have you forsaken me? So these are all important things to consider. But the importance of the story, this is it right here. This is it. Why did Jesus willingly die on the cross instead of hide? He could have hidden. He could have stopped what he was doing. Why did he do what he was doing knowing what was going to happen? Why did he let, people hate Judas? The story of Judas, this or that. Judas was necessary. And the God Jesus prayed to did not put Judas in hell. God would not create someone or something to do the good work and then torment them forever. Maybe for a while, but not forever. Not for eternity, right? But Jesus died for our sins. Why? We hear it all the time. Jesus died for my sins. Jesus died for my sins. Jesus died for my sins. Makes me sick. Jesus died for my sins. Jesus died for my sins. Why? Because before Jesus, there was the law. And the law was like the strict accordance of how to slay animals ritualistically. Kosher butchery, and then after the fact, Khalil butchery are why Jesus died. To stop that. The Lord provides this, that, whatever. And Jesus is like, no. It's like in New Hampshire, state motto, live free or die. But that was a letter, it was in a letter John Stark, General John Stark of the Revolutionary War wrote. And I'm paraphrasing, I hope I get it right. Live free or die. Death is not the worst of evils. It's big talk. I know I'm talking big, but I'm also saying it knowing that it's just another way. My life's been threatened. Not that I need someone to assassinate me. I mean, I'm doing a pretty good job myself. But, and I hate saying it. I hate it. I hate saying what I just said. I really do. But so far as the words are concerned, I'll clarify that more at a later date, and I've clarified it before as far as the thread that weaves through cultures. And there are ways of, eating livestock is better than cannibalism. It's better. It's less worse. Less worse is better. But there always has to be a temporal component to then make something better and less worse and better and less worse. And I've yet to find that, but I've only been searching for like 24 hours, 48 hours. Oh, right, and the term I was going to say is that, like, that way of talking about the Trinity sounds a heck of a lot like Eleatic monism, which they say Parmenides is a part of, but, which I learned the other day from another philosopher, Angie Hobbs, man, she fucking killed it. 40 minutes talking on Parmenides. Like, she breaks down 4 different ways of talking to Parmenides it is, and it's just like, bang, man. She is so smart. Like, what a gracious figure. Like, she's just so incredibly, like, just captivating and attractive as a person. Just, wow. But she mentioned, and I'd not heard it before, that in Greek grammar, the Parmenidean "it is" identical to Greek for "they are." So "it is" and "they are" grammatically the exact same word or words or whatever. And that just blows the whole thing wide open. It's monism and plurality at the same time. And then you get into henotheism, hierarchical henotheism, of a true hierarchy. not of the my God is best henotheism, which is mostly, if you look up that term online, mostly you see, oh, I choose my God as the best God. The Yahweh war God. Well, it depends what war we're fighting, because if it's a warrior of peace, then that is the God we worship. That is the highest principle. That is the divine light that informs the intellect and the intuition, that congeals with the heart. That's the fight. I hope to get to row next time. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I almost feel bad for being happy right now because of the lech that I am. So after I turn this off, I'll think about it for a minute. But I will enjoy this moment that my own speech has allowed me to review the gifts, the intellectual, spiritual gifts of others, and how it has warmed my heart a bit in this moment. I'll take that. I'll let myself be happy for a moment. And hopefully in the right way. Lest the winds of hubris knock me off my perch. Thank you for being here. And I'm even talking to myself. Thanks for showing up, Jeffrey.